One of the biggest genres that has risen in recent popularity is definitely the family genre. Spy X Family is largely the biggest reason as to why people enter the anime scene nowadays, and I would argue it might be one of the easiest anime to get into for a non-anime fan. Maybe regarded in my opinion as one of the best starter and animes in general for anime and non-anime fans. You could even get your granddad to watch the show, and you could easily get hooked in just as a kid can get hooked into Spy X Family. It's cozy, it's anime that isn't too deep, has a lot of funny moments, and a moment for people to relax into. However, I don't want to talk about Spy X Family. You should have already watched this show, especially how popular it is, and if you haven't, go watch it. It's one of the most prominent anime out there currently, and season 2 is about to start, so now's your chance. The main thing I wanted to focus on today was that Spy X Family wasn't necessarily the first one to do something like this. There are a few anime that I wanted to showcase today because Spy X Family has established itself as one of the best introductory anime, but there are others that are like the genre of Spy X Family. Before we get into the anime I'm going to talk about, I want to first give an honorable mention. Usagi Drop was an anime that I recently watched that established itself as the first of its genre. It was probably one of the first shows that people saw that was for a family type audience. It's great that this was one to do it first because if it didn't, then no one would want to watch these types of shows. It focuses mainly on a father who solely adopts a daughter who pretty much her entire family neglects her by. He takes the sole responsibility of it, and fathers and mothers alike will find this show somewhat relatable. The reason I am putting this as an honorable mention is because 1, there are 3 other anime that I feel like have been put under the radar recently, and I'm surprised they haven't been talked about inside the anime community. Secondly, the manga ending simply ruined the appeal of the show, so if you are to watch the show, please just watch the anime only, as it simply ends off a lot more wholesome than what the manga did, and if you want to know the manga ending, sorry, but do not read it, please. So without further ado, this is going to be my recommendations for people who like Spy X Family and people who want to watch other family type shows. Kakushi Goto is the older one out of the 3 shows I'm going to talk about today, and definitely was one of these shows that took a hit because of the goddamn thing again. Legitimately started airing in the midst of all the chaos in the world. This was a show that was honestly supposed to make people happy about staying inside, but was overlooked and I think almost forgotten. It's amazing to re-look at the show and find myself lost in thought, and thinking, oh, maybe anime isn't that bad. Kakushi is a father who is simply trying to take care of his sole daughter, Hime, who is quite an innocent child, as with all children. However, the both of them had the unfortunate incident with their mother, who passed away due to an incident while taking a ship overseas. Kakushi himself promised to take care of Hime while she was away, and he still continued to do that until this point in time in the anime. As Hime grows up, it suddenly comes to Kakushi that there is one little problem about his life, his work. This feels very similar to Spy X Family, but all 3 of the characters are trying to hide their secret jobs or powers, but instead, it's just that he works on Dojin. He begins to be super weary about Hime as well, as other children in the area around them, and while the staff of his workplace are having a fun time teasing him and motivating him to do things, it's ultimately his job as a father to protect the innocence of her young daughter. The series of course takes over moments in time between Hime and Kakushi, even to moments into the teenage years. While the show is primarily in the child stage, seeing the progression of Hime as a character and Kakushi, who is trying to keep his secrets, feels overwhelmingly wholesome. Hime, being a very curious child, even begins to ask what job Kakushi does, and it's really funny to see how Kakushi tries to avoid this as much as possible. Kakushi Goto is about the progression of childhood. There's no supernatural world like the ones in Spy X Family, and it's instead about how Hime begins to grow up. Before you know it, children grow up to be people that stand apart from you and become their own people. Having a deep connection with their mother, they both rely on each other for support, and their relationship is what you can find ideal about them. Don't lie to me. I know that when your parents prevented you from seeing you do weird things, or cuss, or watch
I
some
know no
no square
squared.
stuff, I see it in you. When we see their journey be over, you begin to realize how much people can grow in a small period of time. While it's mostly a comedy throughout the entire show, the twist towards the end of the show shapes up the show to be one of the best conclusive endings I have seen in modern anime. It's a package that I can find myself coming back to in the future. If I don't want to re-watch Spy X Family, I'll come back to this show beaming with excitement again. The next one I talked about a little bit in my winter season video, and we are going to talk about Buddy Daddies. Now, I know what you are thinking. Isn't this just another Spy X Family ripoff? And yes, it somewhat is, and somewhat isn't. This time, the family consists of two assassins who accidentally killed the father of a young girl and have to start taking care of them because the parents didn't even really care for her in the first place. Now, this is different, but also hecka messed up. These two dads don't have feelings as assassins. They have to hide their feelings away from the public in order to complete their missions. When they first try to assassinate the girl's father, they have almost no remorse for the man as he leaves his daughter to be able to gamble and also kill people. You see human emotions when we continue to see them interact with each other, especially Ray, who has struggled within human society. This seems like a very dark story. Most of the series honestly has just been a comedy. People say that Anya is somewhat crazy, especially since she has a lot of energy and is very expressive, but I can even argue that Miri straight up embarks on what a child might be. They are just confused, they want to explore things, and even if you explain to kids in a way a person might explain something, they still might not get it. The fact that she also secretly takes on missions with Rei and Kazuki is honestly one of the most funniest things to see. They try to fight without having Miri seen or killed, and it's literally to protect the hostage moment. Outside of going on missions, the show also has daily moments of life, similar to Spy X Family. It's even crazier than of how Anya acts in front of Yor and Lloyd, because Miri just straight up says, yeah, I'm gonna be a runt. She goes to play Mario Kart, goes to eat, spills the food, doesn't clean it up, plays Mario Kart again, goes to sleep, wakes up and plays again, goes to school and all of this, plays games again, goes on mission to see what two dads can do, rinse and repeat. This show's action isn't really about the action, although it is relatively good in how PA Works does it. It's majorly about saving the innocence of Miri, who knows nothing about what real life holds for her. Later on in the story, the two new dads straight up don't know what to do anymore. Do they value their jobs or do they value a child who doesn't have anywhere to go? They find new things by being with Miri, and seeing them grow as better people was heartwarming to see for the both of them. This show is one of the biggest roller coasters that I have ever seen in anime, and despite Spy X Family's run-long series, Buddy Daddies has a conclusive ending, which makes it a full package unlike Spy X Family. It has gunfights, action, funny moments, crying, more happy crying, whining, funny again. It's just something that you can see the story of, and then see the ending of, and a story I can't forget. PA Works has done an amazing job, and while it seems like a Spy X Family ripoff, it was still something different. Also, this might be one of the only times I wanted to watch the dub first, like, just look at these scenes.
The little brat's actually got himself a harem! I have no luck with the ladies.
Sounds about right.
The final show that I will be talking about is the most overlooked anime in summer 2022, being one of these shows that was announced far before Spy X Family, but then released after Spy X Family's scheduling time. When Spy X Family was on break, I was like, wait, why isn't this show more popular? I thought that if there was a break for Spy X Family, this show could also have the same levels of popularity, because it was something that was very similar to the type of genre Spy X Family was, and guess what? I was definitely wrong. The Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting is of course about the Yakuza, a man named Kirishima who is basically the leader of a large Yakuza household, and is feared by other Yakuza as being the strongest person and one of the devils of the community. He has no remorse towards other people, essentially torturing others for harming other people or messing with the main household that he works for. However, this is all put on hold when he sees for the first time in many years the main household's daughter, Yaika. Being part of a Yakuza guild, Yaika was forced to live with her aunt for a majority of her childhood, and hasn't even lived with Kazuhiko, her father, for almost 6 years. When it becomes much safer to live with him, she takes the opportunity herself to live with her father. Compared to the previous animes that we have learned, all of them essentially take after the formula of a father-like figure, or an entire family centered around one secret that could be relating to their jobs. The secret part about being part of the Yakuza is of course part of this formula. However, instead of taking the father's perspective like we usually think, it's actually Kirishima's perspective we look at. This is something peculiar compared to other shows, and despite what I just said about Kirishima, Kazuhiko has the utmost respect and asks Kirishima if he can take care of her as well, just as if he took care of Yaika himself. Kazuhiko is also weak compared to before, in terms of both his age and mentally with the amount of work he has been doing. Kirishima was someone who displaced his own memories. He had a tragic life before working at the Yakuza, and even though we don't know his full backstory, even by the end of the season, he went through a lot in order to get to the point he was. He even forgets a lot of his own memories until later on. Kazuhiko is smart in that he tries to change Kirishima to the way he was before, by giving him a job that is unfamiliar and much more problematic for a person like Kirishima than beating some people up. He has to actually think about his actions and how he will protect her in a way that Yaika is comfortable with. Yaika herself also has a lot of issues. She was secluded in a place out of her own control, meaning she also doesn't know much of her own family as well as outside interactions. However, her interactions with Kirishima, her father, and everyone else are what allow her to fit in again. She struggles with school, making friends, and it's something that we often relate to in our childhoods. This is a slightly more mature story compared to the other shows, digging into harsher topics such as violence and sadness. Heck, literally by episode 2, I genuinely didn't know what to feel after seeing Yaika's loneliness, as she also copes with what has happened to her mother. This is a touching and wholesome show where two awkward people in society find a way to help one another, and by the end of the season, it's become night and day as to who they are. My only problem with this show, though, was that it seemed like the content was foreshadowing something with a specific character, but we don't really necessarily need to know who that character is because it was a wholesome show to begin with, not really about the violence. The family genre is something that has exploded within just the past year. More and more shows are coming out that rival some of the greatest hits in the past few decades. However, nothing beats sitting down on your couch with a cup of coffee or hot chocolate, or whatever drink you have, watching TV with someone and watching these shows. Hopefully these recommendations have proven well, and with Spy X Family Season 2 and a movie coming relatively soon, I hope the shows here have brought ideas of what other animes are out there.